And open mic. Any Rice Creek Watershed District resident may address the board in his or her individual capacity for up to 3 minutes on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are requested to come to the podium, state their name and address for the record. Additional comments may be solicited and accepted in writing. Generally, the Board of Managers will not take official action on items discussed at this time, but may refer the matter to staff for a future report or direct that the matter be scheduled on an upcoming agenda. I see that we have at least one person from the public present. Anyone who wishes to speak, this would be your opportunity. And I don't know if people are online, but we don't accept comments online anyway. So let the record reflect that there were no comments on our open mic opportunity. Setting the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to remove item number 1 under items for action from the agenda today. I think that's premature. My questions about the outlet structure and the size of those culverts under 88 and 35W have not been presented here, so before we decide to proceed any farther with any work inside the ordinary high water mark of Jones Lake, it's necessary to know what the DNR is going to allow us to do with those culverts. So I think it's premature, and I asked to have it removed until time that my questions are answered, and I believe that there are other managers' questions that haven't been answered also.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Discussion. We've already known that we need to get this done this year because it takes time to do this. We need robust plants to do this. This would set the project back a year. So I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I have a question.
Sure.
So in the special workshop that we had regarding this in particular project, it was my understanding, as it was shared by staff and reiterated by the team at the City of New Brighton, was that any costs associated with critical connection specifically, that the city was offering to cover those costs. So that's my first question, that is the reference, there's a reference to that in here. And then I guess my second question is following that meeting, I did ask Ms. Teresa to send me the audio of the workshop since I had another meeting that day and I had to dip early. And Nick had sent an email saying, thank you for getting the recording. We had dialogued the matching of the grants on behalf of the district, and I had also indicated that I did want to receive the feedback from the DNR on the 2 alternatives that seem to be proposed within the context of that meeting. So I guess I'm not picking on Jones Lake. I guess just sequentially, we have these kind of outstanding issues hanging out there. So committing to this with those outstanding issues hanging out there kind of seems a little premature. Again, not picking on the project, just the whole premise of that meeting was let's talk about this in a robust way. Let's talk about alternatives. And so I'm just a little confused. I understand the other items on here regarding the forbearance and, those things, but like this in particular, I'm just confused as to why this is on there if we have not yet received answers to the questions that were posed at the last workshop.
So 2 things happen about the cost. One is that we can separate those costs and recover those through a WMD so they are not charged to the ad valorem. They are charged to the local communities that benefit from this. That was option 1. Option 2 is we did have a volunteered statement that the cities would pay it, and they were certainly volunteered that after the project, in future years, they would do the surveying and the plant placement process in future years. That's what was said.
Mr. Chair, I think what Manager Robinson is saying is that let me clarify that. You want the answers to the 2 options prior to approving this subcontract. And my understanding is without this subcontract, a permit cannot be given to DNR from which we can get their response to those 2 options. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah.
Is that
the premise
true?
of my question? Or you're looking for clarity around,
No, I'm now looking at
Okay.
Chris and Nick, because we can't move forward. My understanding is we can't move forward with any comments from the DNR unless and until we do this,
Well, it's part of the entire response we owe to get.
exactly, to get a permit.
So we have committed to providing the alternative, which would require less dredging at the potential risk that we'll have cattails that'll just grow back and we'll constantly have to be fighting cattails. But that's the option that's going to be presented to the DNR to get that permit. Even with less dredging, we need to do the survey.
Yeah, my understanding is that the DNR is going to require us to provide additional documentation on the restoration of the project, because whatever we're doing here, we're still going to be needing to qualify as a restoration under the DNR's rules. So from our meeting that we had in June, my understanding is that whatever permit we would be getting for however the project looks, it would still be falling under the same criteria and need to meet the same DNR standards.
may I, Mr.
Please.
Chair? So I understand all of that. Again, I'm not trying to hit pause on the project. Then I guess where I would ask for additional context to this item, whether it stays on the agenda or not, is I would then like to see an MOA or some kind of JPA with the city of New Brighton that memorializes their intent to cover these costs, because that is not indicated in here, although it was verbally dialogued. And I think in fairness and given the scope of this project and the long-term hands on deck that's going to have to exist until it's done, I think that that would be the responsible way to move forward, rather than just, this doesn't really infer any of the commitment that.
I don't disagree. But you don't need to stop this vote to do that. I agree with you, we should get an MOA from them that specifically addresses what they've offered us orally twice on the record. Get it in writing. But we should still proceed to get authorization so we can not, while we're working on all those little side details, we don't stop this project for another year.
Mr. President. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Administrator. Go ahead.
You first.
No,
Minnesota nice
I would
down
like.
there.
I know.
No, you.
Go ahead.
Fair enough. President Bradley, Board of Managers, at this time, we don't know if or what may be required of Rice Creek or our partners to the future conditions, the management of the facility, if you will. And so if I were the city, I would be reluctant
They've
to.
offered,
Yeah, they did offer, yeah,
so don't do that.
okay.
Yes, John?
So, Mr. President, until there's a determination on what the size of those culverts are going to be, if they're going to be any larger, we don't even know that yet. There's no need to even start figuring out what to do with their DNR's lake. Because the only reason to make that bigger, and that's what this is, dredging it, is because we're going to have more water coming into it. If the culverts stay the same, there's no change. And it's true, the culverts staying the same will still cause the flooding in Roseville. But right now, you don't know that yet. So you're anticipating that we're going to give them the DNR. Well, that we'll think up, we need this done, we need that done, and we'll do this ahead of time. The DNR hasn't made a formal request as to what they are, and that's why I say it's premature. Should wait till the DNR says, we want to see a plant study, or we want to see this, and you should have from the DNR a permit or agreement as to what the culvert sizes are going to be to determine how much work needs to be done, if any needs to be done. Because like I said, if they don't change the culvert size, you don't need to do anything. And finally, why not just put in the outlet structure? I think that we could get that done. And but you're worried about over a plant survey study that hasn't been required yet by the DNR, that's going to put the project back a year. What's going to put the project back years is that those culverts under Highway 88 and under 35W. That's the key to determining whether or not you're going to have a success upstream.
Mr. Chair, you have a motion on the floor to amend the agenda?
Any further questions before I call?
I just would like to make sure I'm understanding the discussion here. So the motion is to remove the item from the agenda, and it sounds like there's a lot of questions and discussion back and forth as to how we would move forward with this item. I also heard that we need to do the study regardless of what pathway we take, because the memo from the DNR requires it if we're going to bill this as a restoration study. Am I understanding all that correctly?
Yes, that is my understanding from what the DNR said to us.
So, respectfully, I think the fact that we have disagreement or questions about the path forward and whether you dredge more or dredge less, or culverts bigger, smaller, leave them the same, whatever, it seems to me, if I'm understanding it correctly, all of those are valid questions, but to the point of the motion, we can talk about that when this comes up. And I think that your idea about memorializing the agreement is important, but we can do that as part of the discussion on this agenda item. So I'm okay with leaving it on the agenda.
So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
No, the
Oh, wait,
motion was
wait,
to
wait.
remove it.
No. Let's do that again.
Let's do that again. The motion was to remove it from the agenda. All those in favor of removing this item from the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
So the motion fails 3-2. All right, well, that was fun. Consent agenda. Patrick?
No.
Oh, approval of minutes, I'm sorry.
So I would move to approve the minutes, draft minutes as presented in our packet for the July 22nd, 2026 regular meeting of the board and the August 3rd, 2026 Board of Managers workshop.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now it's Patrick.
Yes, President Bradley, Board of Managers, staff have 2 permit applications for your consideration today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, Patrick?
I have a question. It has to do with this jellyfish device, which I had never heard of before, and so I looked it up, and that was an education. My question is, when we have as a condition that the applicant must submit a draft declaration of maintenance of stormwater management facilities, does that include this device? Because as I read about it, there is some ongoing maintenance that is required, as well as replacement of the cartridges, and I think I want to make sure that that is understood in terms of the applicant's obligation to do that.
Correct. Yes, it would be included as part of the declaration. We don't necessarily do it every time, but sometimes we have put manufacturer's recommendations into that document as far as what should be completed for maintenance of the filters. But yes, it would be part of the declaration.
Can we do that for sure on this? I mean, or anytime we have this in there, because it seems like if you don't do that, then it doesn't really do the job you're wanting it to do. And I don't know, when I read the verbiage here, I might think that it only pertains to the actual pond itself and not any device that is part of that.
Sure. And for further clarification, in the declaration, it's a requirement to specifically list out what is to be maintained, so that the filter would be mentioned, but
Okay.
We could put manufacturer's recommendations for maintenance and inspection in there as well.
Great, thank you.
Anything further? All right, Molly.
Wait, we have
Motion, yes. These guys are getting me all trouble.
Oh, fluttered.
Yeah, okay.
I'll move
yeah.
to approve the consent agenda as presented in our packet for item number 26-033, Blaine Ventures LLC for final site drainage plan, wetland alteration, and floodplain alteration.
And the second one?
Oh,
26.
that's oh, sorry, thank you, good grief. I think we all need more coffee today, don't you?
Yes.
And also,
Yes.
item 26-060, Rendova Partnership LLC for the final site drainage, and this would be in accordance with the Rice Creek Watershed District Engineer findings and recommendations dated August 4th, 2026.
I'll second that very eloquent motion.
Oh, my goodness, thank you. Thank you for your assist.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you for that. Now we have Molly.
Good morning, Mr. President, Board of Managers. Staff are presenting 4 water quality grant applications for your review. 3 applications are in Ramsey County and 1 is in Washington County. These applications were brought to the Citizen Advisory Committee at their August meeting, and there was minor discussion a little bit around the green roof project. I provided some clarification on the waterproofing membrane that would be selected. That's the most optimal for water quality purposes. But through and through with the whole conversation, all 4 projects passed unanimously for recommendation. So if you have any questions, you can ask them now.
Any questions of Molly?
One quick question. So I was intrigued by the green roof project.
Yeah.
And the fact that this was, my understanding, this is the first under this umbrella of
Correct. This is our
grants?
first one. I think we passed it in 2024 at the annual program review. So it's exciting to see this come through. The applicant is also looking to do a shoreline restoration in the future. So we'll kind of turn this into a treatment train situation.
Is there going to be some sort of formal evaluation then provided at the end of this? It kind of seemed like it was sort of a pilot. Is that, am I understanding that
Correct,
correctly?
yes. We will be kind of keeping close tabs with this project, and the applicant is aware of that, just being the first one. So I can work with Washington Conservation District to maybe get a report written up after everything's done and kind of work with the contractor to see where there were successes, where there were challenges, and so we can have that in our internal guidelines for moving forward with future projects.
Thank you, Molly.
All right.
So Molly, we had a discussion of this at the CAC meeting, and we didn't talk about the goats on the roof.
Correct. For the
I have
record,
seen
Manager
these
Waller
roofs.
brought up goats for green roofs.
Yes,
And although a great management practice, probably not best for a residential roof.
I've seen these green roofs in Argentina, and generally they're above a restaurant or hotel situation, or small hotels. And they generally have some kind of animal there to trim up the grass on top of the roof, generally goats.
I think in Door County, Wisconsin, there's a restaurant up there that has goats on their green
Yeah.
roof. So if anyone's curious to go see that in person,
Field trip.
that's where you can find it. Any other questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to move the water quality grant program asks here in regards to application R6 or R26-07, R26-08, R26-09, and W26-02 is outlined above and in accordance with the outreach and grant technician's recommendations.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
This takes us to item number 1. Nick? Oh, Jen,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. President and managers, I'm bringing forward the Jones Lake Restoration Subconsultant item as discussed briefly during the discussion to set the agenda. As discussed, this was presented, this is a portion of our addressing a petition by the cities of New Brighton, St. Anthony Village, and Roseville. It is a portion of moving this project forward in that we need a very robust assessment of the current biological conditions there. It will help us in determining our permitting path moving forward, and it will give us something to measure against once this project is complete. I have a proposed motion down below, and I'm open for any questions you may have.
So, Mr. Chair, I would move the motion. So
I
we can
would
have some discussion.
second that. So,
I move to accept Houston Engineers' proposed amendment to Task Order 2025-012, revised scope of work for the Jones Lake final design permitting, Jones Lake Restoration Project, and authorize engagement of critical connections ecological services as the subcontract under the terms outlined in the revised scope of work.
I will second that.
So, Mr. President, so now for discussion, I'd like to see this contract, if it's going to be competitive, put out for bids. I don't like handing it out to just one particular organization or business. We generally put out our things for bids. This has been a choice by the engineers, and I don't have that much confidence in their choice. I'd like to see some competitive bids brought in.
We used the same group just last meeting on one of our other ditches. There was no concern whatsoever about their experience.
Well, Mr. President.
I'm talking. We've heard a number of people, we've heard Blaine explain to us that they use this firm repeatedly. They are well-known. We've used this firm repeatedly. They're well-known. So in terms of, let me address the issue first about cost. I offered and continue to offer to sequester all of these costs, and I believe you suggested could be as high as 1%, and recover those costs as through the WMD, so there would be no cost whatsoever to White Bear residents, to residents in Hugo, to residents in Blaine. There is no reason to make this $33,000 cost a concern for this project. It is a local cost, it's a local benefit, we should recover the cost locally. Going forward, the cities have said they are not going to abandon this project once it's done, and they are going to, on their own, be happy to do this. Putting in MOA is not a problem. It has nothing to do with what we're going to do and how we're going to recover the costs at this time. It has to do with how we're going to do it and recover those costs in year 3, 5, and 10. I beg you to pass this thing so we can get this project, keep this project on the track, get this thing done. At the appropriate time, we will have lots of time to talk specifically and hammer down and nail down how we get the costs recovered and all those things as those costs come forward.
Mr. President, we've had problems with this particular contractor in the past. I personally, along with Manager Hockey at the time, had to go down to Environmental Services at the DNR over the $100,000 issue that would have become. So we often have a second set of engineers that we go to and do outside bidding for particular projects. So it's not an uncommon practice for us to do this here. And I'd like to see it, a change here, that we start to look at some of the other available contractors that do this kind of work. And there are others. This isn't exclusive.
Mr. Chair, I think we've had lots of discussion about this issue. I don't think it's a good use of our time to rehash this once again. If board members are ready to vote on this, noting that John is making a statement here that impacts all the work that we do, that you're looking for a bigger pool of businesses who can provide us information. I urge this board to pass this motion so we can keep going on Jones Lake. All the other issues can be dealt with at a subsequent time.
Mr. President, I'll call the question.
All in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
All right.
Hold on.
So I would have liked, before you rush to call I would have liked to have offered a friendly amendment to the motion that might have addressed at least
All
my
right.
concern.
Well, let's hear your friendly amendment.
Can I do that after you've already?
Well, because we
Pass the
can bring
motion?
it back.
I mean,
So, yeah.
technically,
I'm not the expert on this.
Well, you
Well,
voted no, so you
So
can bring it back
so
to the
you
floor.
bring it back.
My friendly amendment would be to add on to the proposed motion that it would be contingent on obtaining a written agreement with the city of New Brighton to fund the initial and ongoing requirement for this work.
I accept that friendly amendment. You accept that
I
friendly amendment?
accept that, yes.
With that amendment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I vote for the amendment, yes.
Yeah, vote for the amendment.
All right, so the amendment passes. Now, all in favor of
Can we want more?
Can you restate it once again?
So it's the amendment that I am offering is the proposed motion in our packet, adding on that is contingent on obtaining a written agreement with the city of New Brighton to fund the initial and ongoing requirements for this work.
All right.
President Bradley?
They have offered the initial. We will take that.
Yeah.
My
Could we-
concern is the ongoing obligation to do that. The 30-some thousand is one thing. The second thing
You
is,
said initial, that you're going to make.
and I said an ongoing.
Ongoing.
And
I
ongoing.
I heard the ongoing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you also threw in the initial.
No, I did. I just
All right.
want to make sure that you understand it's not just the initial that I'm concerned
Yes, I
about.
also heard the
I was
ongoing.
just, the petition came from 3 different municipalities
Then you can-
that benefit from the work. Could we just say partners, or, we singled out New Brighton.
I thought that was because they're the ones that offered it
It's
out.
on their property. I think there was discussion.
It'll be
with
up to us to
Roseville.
decide how to pursue it.
We
Okay,
can say partners.
Yeah,
That's better.
we'll see what we get.
So I want to, if I can, just for clarity on the amendment, don't be upset. I'm just asking for clarity. So what you are suggesting is, based on the conversations again in our special workshop in the city of New Brighton, is that any of the final approval is contingent on an MOA by either New Brighton specifically or the partner cities related to this project to cover the upfront cost and any ongoing costs in perpetuity related to the restoration
That is
portion
correct.
of the project. Okay.
That would address my concern with this.
So, Mr. Chair, to staff, we did hear New Brighton say that they would participate.
and they had talked to one of the other partners.
Right.
Shoreview, I think.
Does this hold up this contract until we have that written memo?
Yes, if it's
Per the
contingent.
motion, it would.
Okay, so that means that the city councils have to approve that.
Depending on the administrative latitude that their city managers or
Okay.
city administrators have regarding contracts. But I
Okay,
think it's a fair compromise because it has kind of been the key component of the holdup. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be as black and white. I think this is a more than adequate compromise to address the concerns, whether agreed upon or not, regarding this in particular consultant or the desire or need to do it to begin with. So I think it's a adequate compromise, and I would support Ms. Janet's amendment.
So let me ask you this, this is inquiry. I've proposed that we recover the cost through the WMD, which means we don't need the cities to do this. That, I agree with you. I don't think White Bear Township people should pay for this either, okay? So if you do it through the WMD, that gets recovered through the 9,000 people. It is, WMD remains until such time as we put it out of business. And if we have extra money in it, we will automatically have money available, just like we've done for Curly Leaf on White. Bald Eagle's never paid for Curly Leaf because we still have money left over for our WMD. So the WMD to me is a guaranteed, we fund it through our process, we don't pay for it. That's better to me than a contract
So,
in perpetuity.
right, and I understand that, and I would actually ask Attorney Kolb to weigh in on this, because we did discuss WMD, and I thought I understood that this wasn't a straightforward pathway as it might be, and I also don't know how that would work on an ongoing basis, so perhaps you can clarify that for me.
Okay, well, first, the cities have to agree. So if the cities don't agree, then the whole thing goes away.
I guess cities have to agree with this motion.
This motion, I mean, basically to pay these costs for the historical investigation of the ecological conditions of Jones Lake so that we can justify restoration, number one. And then I think what you're also talking about is basically general maintenance of the project after it's constructed, at least the vegetation and the ecological components. So first they have to agree to that. Second, and so the difference there being, if they agree to it, they're going to spread those costs across their entire municipalities. And I think the difference between that and what Manager Bradley is talking about is that if we take the cost and we spread it across the water management district charge, then not everyone in those cities is going to end up paying for that, just the portions of those folks in the city that are going to be affected by this project or benefited by this project or utilize this project, place a burden on it, however you want to describe it. So that's the difference, number one, between the funding part of it. Candidly, I don't think we're there yet. And I also don't think we're at a point where we can actually have a true memorandum of agreement because we don't know what those obligations are yet, okay? I do believe that I heard it too, at least one of the city representatives present said, well, we would be willing to commit to taking on, I don't know if it was all or some or a portion of those costs, whichever it is. And I think that was sincere, and I think that that's a commitment that we could hold that party to. I also believe that as part of the project, we could require as part of the project the municipalities commit to the long-term costs of maintenance of those components. So I think we get there. That's not a problem. I'm okay with your original language, a written agreement, because I think we can get a commitment from those cities pretty quickly to say, yes, we understand this might be part of our obligation. Yes, we agree to costs. As to the current action before the board, about allowing the engagement of the sub-consultant under the task order or agreement with Houston Engineering. Number one, we need the motion because our agreement with Houston Engineering is specifically they can't add a subcomponent without the board's consent. As to the cost of that sub-consultant and the work that's being performed, based on the modification of the task order, those costs are being internalized into the current task order. So there should be no additional cost to the district, basically under the current task order, for this additional work. And I understand managers' concerns about costs could go over, and then we have subsequent costs. We're not even at the point where we know if we are going to have any subsequent costs because we have no project established yet. So there is a lot of ground we have yet to cover related to Jones Lake. This particular proposal gets us to the point where we can actually have meaningful conversation with the DNR, because the one thing that the DNR has very clearly stated and is very clearly requested, they've very clearly stated that you cannot do your project unless it is truly a restoration, and we need evidence that it's a restoration. Now, did they say we need you to hire Jason Husfeth and Critical Connection Environmental Services or whatever that name is? No, they didn't say that, but our engineer is telling us, and I have no reason to doubt this opinion, that of all of the available consultants to do this work, that is probably the consultant that has the most sway and credibility with the DNR for what we're proposing to do. And so that's what we're here to talk about, is whether or not you want to do that work that's going to be necessary so we can even engage with the DNR, so we can get to the end and know what our obligations are going to be, so then we can have a true discussion with the cities about what they would be committing to in terms of that, the rest of that. So I think we can get a written agreement with the cities, or something in writing that memorializes their commitment to, as is their obligation anyway as the petitioners, to actively participate in this financially, and we can direct it at this specific component. I don't think we're at the point where we can have a true memorandum of agreement, because we don't have sufficient detail to know what we would put in that. And I also would hope that the board understands that there's nothing about this that commits you to any of those future costs. This is a cost for doing that work that, again, allows us to have a real conversation with the DNR, which to date they've been holding off on because they've told us very clearly, you need this information before we can even assess whether you can excavate, because it has to be a restoration before we can authorize that.
That's statute, right?
And that's in statute, that's in multiple different places in public waters law, and then also in the in some other water quality issues for the DNR and the specific standards for excavation in public waters.
So can I sum it up with, you don't have a problem with the motion as amended?
I'm sorry, I have zero problem with the motion as amended. I think Manager Hegland asked a very broad question, and I wanted to make sure I covered that.
I just wanted to make sure that we got all done, that we understood that we can pass your motion.
Yep.
So Are we at a point now to vote on the amended motion? I think we are. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No, I think there ought to be a process for the subcontractors here, and there hasn't been. That's a problem.
All right, thank you.
So now we have to
Thank you,
vote on the
managers.
motion, or?
No, we already
Yeah, we
did.
just did.
Well, we just did vote on the motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
the amended motion, got it.
Yeah, when we voted on the amendment,
And thank you for
now we
that.
voted on
You're
the
welcome.
amended
Got
motion.
it, got it. And that was 4-1?
4-1.
That was 4-1.
Oh, boy, item 2.
Yes, President Bradley. This is Tom's item. He'll be introducing Nelk County Ditch 46, the petition for partial abandonment.
Yes, Mr. President, Board of Managers, you as the Drainage Authority have been petitioned for partial abandonment partial abandonment of RCD 46, branch number 5 in Columbus. So the steps for the board are to consider the petition and accept it and appoint an engineer to do a review. Chris will bring up a location map, if he can.
In a minute.
So just for a little background, this piece of property is on the corner of 153rd and Potomac.
Yeah, Board of Managers, page 123 and onward, there's some maps that may be helpful for Tom's description as Chris is working the screen.
And yeah, Patrick, permit, wetland bank standpoint. Again, it is for a wetland bank is the intention of the impoundment or the abandonment.
President Bradley?
Yes?
Tom, in the steps for the district when it receives a petition? Oh, there, Chris has it up there. Just, Tom, if you could proceed with the steps the board would take when it receives a petition. I appreciate that we're trying to look at what it is, but the board's here today to consider that petition.
Right, so you,
Yeah, sorry.
petition is in the packet for your consideration, and there's a resolution and findings in order to accept the petition and appoint the engineer to present a report.
Mr. President, I'll make the motion for the resolution 2026-09, Rice Creek Watershed District Board of Managers finding an order accepting the petition and directing the appointment of an engineer for discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
We have some, Mr. Chair and Mr. President, do we have some discussion from the engineer?
I don't think we do. I think we are all familiar with the
I have a-
standards, but go ahead.
I got a couple of questions.
Sure.
here. This says it's going to be a wetland bank project. It's called Potomac Wetland Bank Project. Who owns this?
Lake Drive Properties Limited Partnership is the current owner.
The current owner?
Correct.
That's a development company?
I presume, yeah.
So this is Janet. I mean, I can weigh in a little bit on this because this is in Columbus. I know this property. There's been all sorts of speculation about what the heck they're going to do with it. There have been developers that have looked at it to, contemplate a residential development. I believe yes, you're right, the LLC that is on the record for owning it, I believe they are affiliated or part of a business, I think it's North Pine Aggregate in Columbus that actually owns that property. My question is, and I need help with the sort of the legal process here because I'm not familiar with the petitioning process in this, that you guys have. I know that Columbus has an ordinance that prohibits turning highland into wetlands. And my question would be whether or not this applicant has even presented this concept to the city to see if it's even legal within the city. And I know that that's not our business, but I hate to see us engage our engineer and pay for an engineering evaluation of something that might get stopped dead in the water by the city. It would seem, I would feel better about moving forward. This is a proper way to proceed, knowing that they've at least done a concept presentation to the city and the city's open to the idea.
And I think there's a couple of folks in the room that maybe can shed some light on that.
Okay.
Manager Hagelin. So first of all, we do require the petitioner to pay the costs for our own engineer's review.
Okay.
And that, so again, we're not putting district funds at risk, and there's a bond that's filed for that purpose, and we keep track of the costs against that bond, and we require an increase of that bond if we get to that point.
Okay, thank you.
So that's number one. Secondly, we have never not made an order on one of these. We've never not made it contingent on receipt of all other approvals, all of the things that are necessary. So we're not giving approval over the top. All we would be saying is that if you're able to do your wetland restoration, if that's what your real true plan is, then we're authorizing you to modify the ditch or abandon this portion of the ditch as part of that. But it really requires that that project has to go forward. So we do make all of those things contingent. And then in terms of the process itself and approval of the plan, and Patrick might be able to weigh in on this, because there's typically, an initial prospectus that goes out for the banking plan, and that gets reviewed, and then the local government unit for wetland conservation that gets involved along with technical evaluation. And I don't know, we maybe even have someone that sits on that TEP panel, or provides technical assistance to that TEP panel. So I'll let Patrick maybe can give you some more insight on that, but we do very well protect, I think, the district's interest when we get a petition like this and we're moving forward and incurring costs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, so the petitioner, same applicant, they have submitted the full wetland bank application for our review. Generally there are some preliminary discussions like Cole was referencing here. There's prospectus stages and such, and so it had been identified about concerns that the city might have. It does make me think of the other wetland bank completed by the same consultant here, Stantec, with Butterfly Marsh, which is partially within the city of Columbus, which was approved. So that had been raised, and when we send out our formal notice of application. So we have received this application, we're sending it out for comment. We do include the city when that is sent out. I haven't received any specific comments from the city, but I do have to imagine that the applicant and their consultant are aware of that, but I don't know the status of that.
Yeah, and I think, my comments were really primarily because this is the first time this type of thing I've been involved in it, so I just wanted to be confident that we weren't spending district resources on looking into this as part of this petition. If this is something that the petitioner pays for, then that assuages my concern.
Mr. President, I just ask if you, go ahead, Mr. Engineer. You had a comment.
And just a further one point that Mr. Cole made, not only has the petitioner basically obligated himself to pay this, but they've already submitted a bond for this.
Okay,
so,
thank you.
As the costs are incurred, that gets essentially pulled from the bond cost.
Okay.
Mr. President, I think page 123 has an outline picture of the area that we're talking about. Is that correct? And so I just want to clarify here that this abandonment is all on one ownership on two parcels. Is that correct, Mr.?
Manager Waller, Board of Managers, the alignment actually crosses 3 different parcels.
Okay.
And so, it would be the entire portion of branch 5 that is south of 153rd. And it is shown on the screen right now. It's kind of hard to see because of the size of the window on there, but it would be the portion I have shown on the screen that's just south of that roadway.
Right.
So again, it's affecting 3 properties, all of which are owned by the petitioner.
But one owner.
Yep.
And then the next thing is that, so there's really nobody upstream that's going to lose their benefit from this?
That is the, what I need to determine from our engineer's review and study.
All right. That's important to have your public recognize that, this abandonment is just authorizing you to take a look and see what the impact would be on all the property owners that are benefited from this area. I think thank you.
So we need a roll call on this one.
Yeah, I know that. If we had the motion,
Yes, I made the motion.
and it was seconded?
Yes.
All right, so roll call. Bradley, yes. And Waller,
Yes?
Robertson.
Aye.
Winans,
Yes?
Hegland.
Yes.
Passes 5-0. That takes us to Jones Lake Restoration MPCA USACE permit. Jen?
Thank you, President and Managers. This is an item to consider accepting the conditions of the Pollution Control Agency and Army Corps of Engineers permit as written and authorizing the administrator to sign the permit. This is a portion of the Jones Lake Restoration Project, as we've discussed, which was started by a petition from New Brighton, St. Anthony Village, and Roseville in order to do flood control and water quality improvements. In looking through this permit, I mostly saw boilerplate items. I've described a little bit down here what I was seeing. There's a lot of sediment control, there's an invasive species condition, ensuring the contractors follow the conditions, making sure that we have all of our approvals in order before doing anything. This does not legally obligate the district to construct the project. It also does not obligate the district to keep this static. We can require permit modifications in the future if the project changes or if anything isn't working out for us. We can request that modification. The proposed motion is below, and I'm here for any questions you may have.
So, Mr. Chair, I would move upon review of the Corps' Clean Water Act permit for the Jones Lake Restoration Project and its conditions. I move to authorize the administrator to sign the permit and direct further engagement with the Corps' project manager as status and design of the project become clear.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Can I ask a clarifying
Please.
question, Mr. Chair? So I understand that you're saying that this, for the most part, is, boilerplate language. It's pretty standard, it's typical. Again, referencing kind of some of the dialogue we had on item 1 in the agenda. We haven't exactly locked in a final program plan as far as what these repairs look like. So with that, we have 2 strong alternatives that we've asked the engineer to go back to the DNR with. Does this in any way, shape, or form impede, additional dialogue, narrative that may lead to change of scope of projects? Again, it just feels like, I understand that the permitting processes with these regulatory agencies are complex, right? It's not like you just ask and they say, sure. I get that it's months worth of back and forth and what have you, but it does feel a little, it does feel weird to apply for or approve a permit when you really don't know outside of the objectives what that project's gonna look like. Does that make sense?
It does, Manager. Thank you. Yeah, and I understand. And there is no obligation to sign it written into this documentation, but it is pretty commonplace for modifications to be requested. This one, for example, as written, is encouraging us to finish by the by the end of 2029. There's a lot of space in between here and there to figure out if we're sticking with the permit as applied or if we're modifying it.
Maybe I can also help this. So the Corps has determined, first of all, that anything we do to move any material within the boundary of, and I know you hate this name, Jones Lake,
Yeah, we'll change the name of that.
requires a Corps permit because that will be a discharge of dredge or fill material to waters of the United States. So they basically went in knowing that your maximum project and any alternative that does anything within the boundary of Jones Lake is going to require a permit. So that would include all the alternatives that the board is aware of right now and has discussed. So we would need a permit from the Corps regardless of the alternative we pursue. The only thing that would change this Corps permit is if we were going to now create a new impact to waters of the United States that was not anticipated in our original application, which was the broadest application. So that's the only thing that would change the permit. But within the permit, we can talk about different scope, and the Corps would actually look at that and say that's actually lesser scope than we originally, or it's a greater scope, but it's still covered. There's that kind of ongoing dialogue, which is why the language in the motion exists to say directing further engagement with the Corps project manager as status and design of the project becomes clear, because then that will clarify to us whether we're good with the terms as they are, or whether they're going to be modified in some way as we move forward. And I think it's just recognition that at this point it's good to have your permits early, because the modification process, if it's necessary, is a lot easier than that original permit issuance threshold.
Mr. President, I note that on page 147, there's a map here. Manager Wynett says I like maps. So I look at this one. What's interesting about it is that the excavation above the runout of the cattail fringe is designated here is 154,000 cubic feet and 16.25 acres. 16.25 acres. That's how much they're proposing to dig out. The maximum, it's true, it could be less, or it could be more. It all depends on what the culvert sizes are. But that's the first time I've seen an actual figure on what you're talking about, excavation beforehand. It's always been, we're going to excavate some, and it's a little over here, and it's a little over there, and this is the actual fact of what we're talking about, not just some sloped areas. 16.25 acres of digging.
Any further discussion? All right. We've had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes 5-0.
Thank you, managers.
Okay. I guess this is the resolutions?
Yes. President Bradley, Kendra is here to address the item. A number of items were left at your spot at the dais.
Good morning. All right, I have for you today the Minnesota Watershed's resolutions, the appoint delegates and alternates, and then added to the memo was just a recap of the workshop discussion on the resolutions. And yeah, I have a proposed motion sort of in the middle of the page for you all to
Can I
consider.
ask you what the last sentence of your proposed motion is supposed to do? Manager, who's going to authorize, the board, right, do you just want to say the board instructs the delegates to vote in accordance with, so the manager or somebody?
Well, I would move to designate Manager Wynett
All right.
and Manager Hegland
Yeah.
as the delegates, and Manager Bradley as
the
the alternate.
Yeah,
And then I also move to instruct delegates to vote in accordance with the stated Rice Creek Watershed
okay.
district position.
So we put your name in that blank. All right. Any discussion?
And if there's a second.
I second it.
You second it?
Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question about, so this, what we have in front of us is replacing what was in our packet? From,
Yeah, I think she's just added the recap, basically.
okay,
President Bradley?
Yep.
The single sheet, yes, that is,
okay, single sheet.
yep, there's a single sheet at your spot in
Okay,
memo form.
Yes, please, thank you.
That is the update from the workshop discussion. One of the things I chatted with Kendra about beforehand was 2607, which is third bullet from the bottom there, the Flood Hazard Mitigation Fund. And while the district has noted its concern with the flood hazard mitigation fund and its lack of funding here. It appears to be side with the emergency management positions of our counties. And so, we're miles away from changes, but how that all comes out will eventually be clear to us. I don't know if this will establish a more robust bar for us to receive funds, is my point.
Okay.
But I do think supporting this would be important. We'd like money for flood hazard mitigation.
And Mr. Chair, I know in our workshop, we noted that Matt was going to provide some additional information on the recommendation because he felt that the wake boat resolution was maybe not.
Poorly written.
Yes. So with that in mind, I would just note that we may have some edits to this.
Yes. President Bradley?
Yes.
Staff would be happy to conclude that with Matt and email out to the managers his thoughts on the way it's currently written.
Also, at our dais, you have a Capital Region watershed request to support alternate water sources for agricultural use. Is there a reason why that was on my desk?
Well, and that was my question. Is that additional information for the Resolution 08?
Well, if you turn it in, you'll see that there's some highlighted portions in the pages, and I think that looks like additional language or changes that they made before. I haven't, but that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, President Bradley, Manager Waller is correct that Capital Region watershed districts, in regards to Resolution 2608, updated their materials. They received a support from, Chris, you will know, this is the Association of Engineers that supported the approach that the plumbing board need not involve itself in civil review of stormwater management outside of a structure. I'm paraphrasing, but this is just an update to know how it may have changed from the original packet. That's what will be before our delegates at the meeting.
Mr. President, I read some of these highlighted things earlier this morning, and I thought they were well-written and also to the point of making certain that the plumbing board doesn't suddenly become in charge of the world. So I would support these changes into the resolution that they have already offered. And
Good to know. Thank you, John.
Well, and on that note, that's my question. If we want to suggest alternate language on the wakeboard resolution, do we also send something like this out to the delegates, or we raise it at the meeting?
It would behoove us to, anything we want to change language, to get it in their hands so
Yes.
they can be sent and shared with the
Yes.
membership in advance of the
Right.
meeting.
yes, Mr. President, that's a good idea. I'd support that. If you're going to have language change, send it ahead of time. Trying to do it on the floor of the meeting up there when those people want to go home is difficult.
Well, this would be online, but yes. So
Well, I mean,
you're-
that-
Used to be they wouldn't even
December.
let us, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. President
Yeah.
Bradley, I hear you referencing Minnesota Watershed's previous consideration of any deliberation or fine-tuning of the resolutions at the actual meeting. I think it's appropriate, as Mr. Kolb kind of noted here, this is Minnesota Watershed's management of membership. So we'll get the information from Matt, share it back to Jan Voigt at Minnesota Watersheds for her disbursement of a note that Rice Creek had on the resolutions as currently presented.
Okay.
Perfect, because, I don't know if last year, certainly the year before last, they wouldn't even let us make amendments at the meeting.
Agreed.
Yeah, really ticked me off. So, I think we're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank
Did
you.
it clearly get read into the record, the motion? It did, right?
She did. She read it in.
And before Kendra gets
you
too
wanna-
far away, Mr. Chair, I would just note the large Mounds View Rain Garden, which is just that way from City Hall. Monarchs are flying all over it this morning, so the pollinator patch is working. So thank you, Kendra, for your work in organizing that.
President Bradley, Board of Managers.
Yes.
The next item is on page 210 of your packet, or 211. This is Jen again.
Jen?
Thank you, President and Managers. This is the final Jones Lake project of today, item for today, and it's a solicitation of bids to construct the Jones Lake Sediment Forebay and public drainage maintenance corridor access. Again, this is part of that petition by New Brighton, St. Anthony Village, and Roseville for flood control and water quality improvements. This item is to align Ramsey County Ditch 5 to provide public drainage maintenance corridor and building a sediment forebay that will allow us to capture sediment, which will improve the lifespan of our facility. This item is to acknowledge asking the board to acknowledge the receipt of the construction plans for Jones Lake, sediment forebay, and the realignment of Ramsey County Ditch 5. We will put out for bids and bring those bids back for board consideration at the end of October. We've got the proposed motion as seen on your packet, and I'm here for any questions.
Mr. President, I'll move to acknowledge the receipt of the Jones Lake Sediment Forebay and Public Drainage Maintenance Corridor Access Path Construction Plans dated August 2026 and authorize the staff and HEI to advertise solicitation of bids for this project for discussion.
I'll second.
Mr. President, I'm glad to see we're going to work in the drainage system here, and I support this going forward in this portion. But the other component is, this is the inlet portion, is the outlet portion, and I'd certainly like to see that come forth, and I'm surprised that it isn't included here in the match between the two. I realize that the Department of Natural Resources has to authorize the plan, but I would think they'd have no objection to it or problems with it, because it's a replacement of an existing structure that is in terrible condition. So I look forward to seeing that if we can.
Chris?
Mr. President, members of the board, so, DNR would require us to get a permit for them to do anything to the outlet of the structure, or the outlet of Jones Lake, because it is the run out of the lake, and so they do have jurisdiction on that. And what we're proposing to do for an outlet will be different than what the current outlet is, which the current outlet really doesn't have much of a hydraulic function to it at all. It just sets basically a hard point on the bottom. It does have a small notch on it for flows, but what we're proposing is going to be something that is going to significantly change storage and water levels upstream from there, and there are a variety of different requirements that DNR has had for us to provide submittal on related to that in conjunction with the rest of the project, and we're still working on addressing all of those questions of the DNR.
I assume a plant survey for the outlet structure isn't one of the requirements.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
It is part of the larger project. Because we haven't, if we were to just do the outlet structure alone, without the rest of the work, we're going to be changing water levels that would not be, we would not be meeting DNR requirements without doing the excavation that we're proposing as well.
As I understood it, when we had the the review over there, you were going to move the outlet structure downstream in the ditch. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're moving
So-
it downstream, but DNR still regulates it as.
I
the
understand
outlet.
they have a regulation for an outlet of the lake, yes. I'm well aware of that. But I mean, I think that's an essential piece to have done before you. Because as I said earlier, and sorry to be repetitive, but you don't know what you're going to have to do with this 16.25 acres until the culverts under those highways are, size is determined if there's an increase or a decrease, or no crease. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a related question attached to this? So I know one of the conversation pieces on one of the slides throughout the presentation on the overall of all the details of this project. Does this part of the project that we're talking about here, is this part of the uses for the grant dollars that we had? Or that we have been awarded? Like, this project is allowable use within that grant application or allocation, correct?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
all part of the larger
Okay.
project, and we are getting flood reduction out of this pond, not as much as what the remainder of the project is, but it is working toward that. And again, one of the reasons why we wanted to move this forward right now is so that we can meet that June 30th deadline on the MPCA grant.
June 30th of what, 2027?
27.
Yep. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because there was some dialogue that if we didn't do it a certain way, we were gonna lose the money,
Yep,
so I'm
yep.
glad that we're using it.
No, a good question.
Okay.
Further questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Manager.
Yes, we're at the check register.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the check register dated August 12th, 2026, in the amount of $270,104.05, prepared by Red Path and Company.
I'll second that. Any questions of our treasurer?
Can you just explain the void and reissue on here?
I'm sorry?
Can somebody just explain the void and reissue of these checks, why that was done?
Teresa
Teresa.
should,
They were surety returns.
Do you need to go to the podium?
You don't have to.
All right.
Applicants, it got lost in the mail, so we have to void them.
Oh,
and
got it.
Have them fill out an affidavit of lost check.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. I think we just accept that, right?
Yes.
We don't,
We have to do
we have to vote?
Yeah, there's a vote on it.
All right. All in favor of the,
Paying the bills.
yeah,
check
for the
register.
check register, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? My packet's falling apart on me.
And it passes.
Yeah. Let's see where we're at.
Now we have the district engineer updates and timeline. I think
All
Chris
right.
is available.
We are. All right, Chris, you're up. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, members of the board, I'll just note a couple things. Nook County Ditch 5362 branches 5 and 6, that work is completed. We've gone out and done a verification, and so that will be coming back at the next board meeting for consideration of final payment to the contractor. I guess other thing I'll note is that one of the last items on that table is the as-built survey of public drainage system maintenance. I had just sent that off to district staff this morning, so that item is completed. That was on Nook County Ditch 102232 branch 4, and then a couple segments of JD4 that we did a field survey on and now have as-built records on that.
Are there any questions of Chris?
Chris, I'm asking about tonight's public hearing on Anoka Ramsey Judicial Ditch 1,
Public.
Information meeting.
public information meeting?
Yeah.
Yes. Who will be there from staff, and how do we see that rolling out, and who will be there as managers?
It's a public information meeting, manager one. I will be there. Tom intends to attend. Chris or an alternate. Chris, you're.
Yeah, I'll be there, and another gentleman works for me, Justin, he'll be there too, and
Okay.
we'll work together to present the information to the public.
Have you gotten any feedback on any calls about it from public throughout the drainage system?
Manager Wyatt, Board of Managers, I have not received any phone calls from the notice. In addition to myself, Abel and Connor will also attend,
Okay.
as they are the field representatives of the district.
Yes. So just reminding, or recalling, Chris, you said this will be an expensive project due to the proximity to residents throughout the system.
Yeah, and
Along, throughout the actual drainage ditch.
and the extent of trees, there's a lot of trees there. And then there's also that realignment that is required, that's also
Oh, yeah.
an expensive component of it as well.
Moving the pipe
Pipe around
and now
the
open, yes.
trucking building, yes.
Okay. And do we have other managers that will be in attendance?
At this time, go ahead.
I was planning to go.
Good. At this time, I may not be here.
Okay. John, are you intending to be here?
Oh, all my good intentions. I wonder if I'll make it to heaven.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. Okay.
Yes, I intend to be there, but as they say, the good intentions, you know.
Okay. All right. Just checking in on that one.
Very good. Administrator updates.
Yes, President Bradley, Board of Managers, I have a number. For your information, I'll just note that we have some citizen concerns regarding proposed development in Arden Hills. It's near County Road I and Fairview Avenue. That's just outside the TCAP area. Generally, some future development, and they're concerned about the resources in the area.
And you've gotten calls on that one.
Emails, yep,
Emails.
and some calls, yeah. So staff is engaged. It's our regular process and how the Watershed District fits into the protocols that exist.
And this is the community north of I.
Yes,
Yeah.
generally.
Okay.
I'll note, a few items to review here. Budget update. I did adjust the 2027 proposed budget, use some fund balance dollars to bring the proposed budget consistent with the 2026 levy amount, so no change in that, and as it's dispersed across our parcels of the 4 counties. I'll note that within there, we have had some comments about the basic water management project for Ramsey County Ditch 2, 3, and 5. That project has not been ordered yet, and at the time that it is, we can look to adjust the budget and make note of the use and the later collections of those dollars. I am assembling the materials for the fund balance accumulation questions that were raised. We'll get that emailed and sent out to you all. We mentioned the landowner meeting tonight for ARJD 1. Reminder, ACD 102232, the alternative 4. We had good discussion at our June 22nd special workshop there. The board identified at that time to bring this back to a meeting. I intend to put it on August 24th meeting for the board action. This is a simple motion to proceed or not with alternative 4. And that will provide staff and consultants some direction as to what to prepare for the meeting and go from there. This is public process to support the board's position and establish a record that supports whatever that decision is. So we'll look for you to vote on the 24th about that. Update on the Circle Pines outfall into 5362. I previously shared at the workshop that they provided a document for our review. It didn't include the attachments that were noted in the engineer's report, so we asked for those and got them, which is good. We've asked Houston to develop an engineering position on that. Timing comes into play from Circle Pines' perspective. I intend to bring this to the September workshop. The city would suggest that this needs to be done quite quickly, or that the district should do it, or seems to be implying that we would be the ones to pay for it. I'll note that the work or the early review of that document that was provided shows work well beyond the original effort that the district took into their storm sewer system, which obviously Houston Engineering will comment on. Rice Creek Records, we obviously closed that project back in the day with all the inspections and so on. And I don't know if Chris or John have anything they'd like to offer there, or if the board has any questions on that. Moving on from there, JD3, Clearwater Creek, I'd mentioned before, September 14th for the open house meeting for that, September 14th at 6 p.m. in Centerville. Same as what I reported at the workshop. So we have a big agenda for the 24th. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? John?
No,
Update?
Update. Well, I attended the CAC meeting and we took an inspection. I haven't been over there to walk the whole Hanson Park situation for some time. And note that they have a beautiful growth of cattails. And this year with the drought, I'm sure we'll have more cattails. But the CAC was able to see it. Some of them, I guess, had never seen the project before, you know, and we finally made it up to the same area where we had the legislators come and take a look at it. We were talking earlier this spring, or was that last fall, I guess. And the sand filters were working, and of course those sand filters are not passive, they're active, and they have pumps on them, and so they had been freshly maintained, so it all looked very nice. The other thing I'd comment on here is at our workshop we commented about the consultants, and I certainly hope that we don't take this as just a going through the motions process. As was kind of indicated in some of the discussion, I'd like to see a robust competition, because this is a very important selection of engineers, because you're going to saddle with them, whoever it is, makes your plan in the next couple of years, and then of course your need for the years afterwards. And we're kind of at a junction where the drainage ditches have historically been determined, and it's a new, you might say, phase to go on other with issues that have to do with flood control and the stormwater conveyance. And so other skills may be necessary, and I'd like to say have not this just be a going through the motions, but rather a robust competition. Thank you.
Marcy, any updates?
Yes, I would just announce that I am not going to physically be present on the 24th, and yes, it looks like that agenda continues to expand. I will be online as I am able, so it's just giving you prior notice.
All right. Hegler.
No updates.
Mr. Roberts.
No, Mr. Chair, just as always, happy to be here.
Well, glad to have you.
Yeah.
And I have no updates, so motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Is it 6 o'clock for me?